Hey guys, how y'all doing? My name is Kieran, and this is RPG. So today I'm joined by Chubby Funster. Also, his real name is Greg Christopher, but everyone knows as
Hey
Chubby
everybody.
Funster. So today we're going to be having a look at his Kickstarter, Shadow City, Blood and Neon. Sorry. So yeah, you've been on an absolute tear the last month or so, for 4 or 5 weeks, doing interviews, talking
Yep.
to people about Shadow City. Not only that, you're an absolute beast at creating everything. Obviously, the
Thank
last
you.
2 years or so, you've been heavily focused
Yeah.
in the Shadowdark, and now you have your own like proper game in the Shadowdark realm. I know you've created previous games, but this is definitely bringing your Shadowdark experience and showing it off to the world.
Yeah. Well, there's more backers for Shadow City right now, and hopefully even more, over the next 44 hours, as you can see. Um, but then the number of people who bought Ambition and Avarice too. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's been very,
Speaking
very
of,
successful. Yeah,
I'll be having my review up of that this week.
exactly. And like, what's
Good
crazy is
timing.
like I love that game. I think it's really great. I played it with my Saturday night game group for
Yep.
probably over at least a year and a half of total time, broken up into different games and stuff. And I love it to death. But one of the things with creating is that the thing that you, as the creator, are most passionate about is not necessarily the thing that is most successful. So it's always a wonder. You put something out and you're like, well, I really like this. Is it going to be successful? You just never know. I'm
Yeah.
really happy that it's been as successful as it has been.
So it's like, am I hitting the right spot at the right time? Because you know yourself, sometimes people will create something and it's great, and it doesn't get noticed for years or months or whatever the case might be.
Yeah,
And all of a sudden it pops up out of the ground, and people are like, "Oh wow, how did I miss this?" But yeah, but yeah,
exactly.
everyone should get that. It's also very good. And keep an eye out. I will have my review out this week.
Awesome.
So yeah, what made you want to create like vampire masquerade type game within Shadowdark?
Well, I was finishing up the GM companion, and I was doing the part of the GM companion that's all the extra districts to add to your towns in Shadowdark.
Hmm.
And there's kind of like, days where you're just brainstorming relentlessly for all of the things you can think of to go on a certain table. And I kept thinking about it, and I realized that the architecture of Shadowdark, particularly the creating the towns and creating the way she does dungeon creation, um, that those systems could be used to make a vampire game that plays the way that I want to play. Um, and I'd played with a bunch of ideas over the years of different ways of organizing it, and different ways of mapping a city. One of the things that's always amazing to me is, like, a lot of times people will design some place and they've never been to any place that's similar to what they're actually making. So, like, if you've never been to Egypt, you're going to get a lot wrong when you try to make a game about living in Egypt, right? But
Yeah.
but the city of New York, I've been several times. My wife has lived there for a number of years, and the complexity, like, if you wanted to seriously map at like a dungeon resolution, 5 foot squares, and actually represent all of the different space, um, it's very, it's like an insane task. Like, just doing one block of New York City, all the different, you
Mhm.
have buildings where levels of the building don't intersect perfectly. So there's stairs and intersect, yeah, things that drop off, and you don't like just mapping it would be a freaking nightmare. And so I've struggled for like 10 years of all these different ways, because I wanted to play it as like a dungeon crawling action adventure thing, similar to the way vampire appears in video game. Like when you play a vampire video game, whether it's Vampire Bloodlines or Vampire, or there's several other vampire games, werewolf games and stuff. You're exploring like a location, right? And
Mhm.
I just don't get that feeling from playing Vampire the Masquerade. Um, and so I realized that this was the solution. And so I spent several days where it like took over my head for long periods of time, just building all the things in my, like those gifs where the person's like staring off into space and you see like math equations are being
The
drawn around their head.
calculations, yeah,
You
yeah,
know, yeah, like I had like days like that. And then
conspiracy board stuff.
yeah, I had nights where I couldn't go to sleep because I would lay down and I would just still be thinking of all of these different solutions. And then I built the framework for it, and I was like, I'm going to do this as soon as I get the GM companion done. And then I, finished up the GM companion, and Terra Invictus was already done at that point, but it was sitting in editing. So both of those products went out, and then I was like full attention onto this. It just it captivated me.
That's brilliant because like the way you're describing it, especially when you talk about like you say in New York, um if you were trying to map New York, oh my God, you would be in absolute hell, like you said. First of all, you have many different types of buildings. Then each building's going to be different height. You then have the underground layer. You then have like the tunnels,
Yeah,
and you might have the train system and everything that goes through. So if you could
exactly.
apply, like you said, you're trying to apply that kind of city into a video game. How do you do it? And you have come up with it by being inspired by Shadowdark and created your own system built upon something that was previously there, expanded upon it, which you've also previously expanded upon in your other stuff like the GM Companion, which is an absolute must-have for any Shadowdark GM.
Thank you.
I will always tell everyone to get that every chance I get. It's one of my favorite products ever. But anyway,
I
but yeah, this
appreciate
sounds
it,
really
man.
cool.
It's hard to know what to say. I'm very grateful. Yeah.
But like I've seen some of you talk with other people about this, and it's going to be done in sort of like a node location based thing, is it?
Yeah. I can actually bring up. Let me bring up the book here real quick, and I'll just screen share it with you. Um, so this is site maps. All right, so I can turn that over. So it uses a backbone node mapping system. So the black dots here, you're
Mm,
rolling to determine the degree of openness for each of these black dots. And then the number, you're rolling a d4 for how many branches are coming off of each dot. Okay.
okay.
So you could make this into a circle to do as a park or a fairground or something. You could create multiple columns to use if you wanted to, and create like two backbones. You could uh, bend it into an arc or have it be at a perpendicular angle, whatever you need to fit the space that you have. And
Mm,
then you're rolling for each of the black ones, you're determining how open or closed it is, right? So if it's an open node, then it's like a lobby or a big open space where you can't really go through that area without getting spotted.
okay. Yeah.
If it's closed and restricted, then you can't get through without some kind of interaction with you. Do you have the right key card? Do you bribe somebody to get through that node? Whatever it is. And then the narrow and confined node is it's not blocked, but it's like winding hallways or some kind of really tight area. So you could go through there and nobody will see you, but it might take some time, and you could run into somebody with kind of no encounter range. You'd be at like point blank range coming around a corner to somebody. So off of all these branches, you roll a type like a dungeon room in Shadowdark,
Yeah.
and then when you roll a d10 for each of the whatever it is, and you get some kind of modification on it, and then the GM just builds out whatever it says. So you can create a huge dungeon in a very, very, very short period of time, and call it a building. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So
I was
like,
about to say,
yeah,
like,
you can build it out and then just say, okay, this is the high rise where the guy you're looking for is hiding out, and
yeah,
you
that
can go,
that's
yeah,
yeah. I was gonna say, like, that's super. It looks to be very simple. Like, in a few minutes, you can just roll a handful of dice while the players are doing something, and all of a sudden, you now have created like, say, 10, 12 story building, maybe a
yeah.
basement layer or two, and they're like, okay, here's where your target is, or the guy you're trying to get information from. Go find him.
But it uses
But you
similar
could also apply
tables
the same.
to in Shadowdark of finding, like, if you don't know what the structure is, like they say, what's the next building after this one? There's a table you can roll off for that. If they say, I'm not sure what we should be doing, if for some reason they don't have a direction, it's
Mhm.
similar to how you can roll up an adventure lead in Shadowdark. You can roll up a thing like, um, this mafia boss needs this guy to be brought in, or you need to take this and deliver it to the FBI. You need to do whatever, and you can roll up a whole bunch of random tasks like that. But one of the things that comes up in a lot of conversations is that most of this experience is a player-driven game, because the nature of the vampire is that they need blood, and in order to get the blood, they have to hunt people, and that makes it so that they need territory like a animal. And there are
Yeah,
other vampires in the city that are NPCs that want that same territory. So the players are in a constant war with these guys, other vampires, in order to gain territory. And if there's like a carousing type mechanic that takes 3 months instead of one night, because it's
yeah.
vampires instead of Shadowdark. But if you don't assign someone to watch your territory during that time period, and they're basically, they don't get any of the normal benefits except the XP. Um, they're just patrolling your territory looking for any trouble. If you don't assign somebody to that, you might get to the end of your carousing and find that you've lost a whole half of your neighborhood to this new vampire that's moved in.
There's one thing I was thinking, as we've been watching some of the stuff when you've been talking about it, is I keep thinking of the first Blade movie, except everyone's the vampire, and there's going to be gangs of them around, and how
Yep.
they're interacting with each other. Like, you could have like a nightclub, and full of all that stuff going on, like in Blade. That'd be really fun, really interesting, and quite
Blade is one
different.
of my favorite movies. I think
Oh, it's
it's
so
great
good.
because
I
it
remember when I first
shows,
saw that.
yeah, it shows the vampire as a vulnerable thing. Like, most
Yeah,
times when the vampire is portrayed, it's portrayed as very, very strong. At worst, they're a glass cannon kind of effect. Like, they have an
yeah,
incredible offense, but they're vulnerable to some particular thing hitting them. But with Blade,
yeah.
he's
Club of Guard
going
that caused them to
through
explode.
7, 8, 10 of them, just chop, 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 chop. Like these guys are vulnerable to him,
Yeah,
and like in Shadowdark, your characters are not robust. If things go wrong, you can die real quick, and you can just re-roll a whole character in 5 minutes, just like Shadowdark. So there's no pain in that. Like, okay, I
yeah,
lost my guy, I'll make another guy. That's fine. Um, but it does create a different kind of a totally different way of experiencing vampire, because in Vampire the Masquerade, you're like a tank. You could take a dozen bullet shot. You can walk through all kinds of hell and be okay. And there's powers that will make you faster than anybody else on the battlefield, and you can just crush through. Celerity or potence or all these different combat disciplines that will turn you into a god. And
yeah.
the butcher is the class that's closest to that kind of thing, but even him it's more like a fighter from Shadowdark than it is like a real super tank, and they can die. If they get shot in the head with a shotgun or or slashed with a katana, then they're going to go down too. Yeah.
Yeah, he's just got a little more meat in the bone, so you can take it maybe an extra point or two of damage.
Exactly. Well, and you can heal. The main advantage of being a vampire is you can use the blood to heal yourself, and
Mm,
humans can't. So if they have 3 or 4 hit points and they go out, like they're down. If you have 12 hit points and you can basically spend a blood point to heal 1d6 almost at will, then you're much more resilient. But if somebody shoots you uh, 15 times with a AK-47 and then you stand back up and all your bullet holes close, um, that's going to cause a different kind of problem for you, because now there's people that know that you're not a human being, and then that creates its own issues. So um, the vampires in Shadow City are under incredible pressure in a way that is not present in Vampire the Masquerade. You can't take your time to solve your problems. You can't try to come up with some political solution that takes several weeks, and you're bargaining and doing things like that. Yeah, most things you're trying to resolve that night, just like in D&D. I mean, it's possible to play Shadowdark or D&D and have a long political plan, but how many
mm.
players really do? Most players are just trying to make it to the next level, next adventure, whatever it is. Yeah, they're not trying to become the Baron or something like that. Maybe if you're playing Acts 2, then you do that, but typically not. So that's how
Yeah, that
it
stuff
plays
usually
like
comes later
D&D.
on with more experienced players in my experience at least anyway. But yeah,
Yeah.
this sounds really interesting because there's a couple things here. Like this is a character sheet. It's very simple, very straightforward. You can print it off on one A4 page, no problem, or keep it in your little diary or whatever. You talked about the blood points there a second ago. What are blood points and like how do they work? Where did you get them from? Are they their type of resource? Like,
Yeah, so it's a resource. There are blood points in Vampire the Masquerade, but they're used to power a lot of kind of super powered type abilities, and most of the abilities in Shadowdark or Shadow City, sorry, are much more laid back compared to those things. But your character has two kind of health resources: hit points and blood points. And the hit points is kind of how physically tough you are and how much damage you could take. And the blood points is the concentration level of the blood that you have. So as you level up, your hit points only go up a tiny bit each level, but your blood points will go up significantly. So
okay.
third or fourth level character will have a lot more blood to play with. That means they can do a lot more with their abilities. But if you use too many abilities, you start to have to make frenzy checks, and the frenzy
Mm,
checks are based on how much blood you've already spent tonight. So if you've spent 10 blood points in the past 6 hours, when you have to make that check, you're going to be at a DC of 5 plus 10 rather than it being, 5 plus 3 or 4. Like a first level character
yeah.
couldn't spend that much blood in one night. So even at a higher level, you're vulnerable to your own hubris. The more
Okay.
confident you get, you're going to be like, yeah, you're like, I can just use this blood powers and kill all these guys and do all this stuff. And then eventually you have to make this frenzy check, and the DC is like 15 or 18, and you're in a world of hurt when it fails. So I like that.
Rampage mode, maybe.
Yeah. I like that at a low level, you're not really you're not vulnerable to kind of going off the reservation, just killing it, just becoming a monstrous machine. But as you get more powerful, you become more proud and power. Like you're like an egomaniac. You when it goes off, you become incredibly dangerous. So there's a balance. There's a lot of things that get more difficult. not just monsters. Like usually monsters will scale up with characters
Yeah.
in most games, right? But usually your abilities are getting are just universally better the higher up you get. But a lot of the pressures in Shadow City are they get more of a problem for you at the as you go up in the higher levels because you're getting arrogant about using these powers. You're getting more complacent, and then a mechanic that you never would have been tripped up by when you were first or second level, when you're fourth or fifth level, all of a sudden you're like, oh, I forgot, and then you're going to
Yeah,
have to
yeah.
make a check that you fail, and then you're in big pain. So there's a lot of things where as you get better, the situation becomes more difficult. The world gets as the world goes on. There's an apocalypse timer that's ticking up to the humans figuring out that vampires are real, and if as those numbers go up, it becomes more pressure on you to keep everything a secret, to keep everything from being exposed. And the other NPC vampires are also having that anxiety.
Okay.
If you've got one apocalypse point and there's 9 more before the humans figure everything out, then who cares if this one thing slips by. But if you get up to where you're getting close 7 or 8 apocalypse, like everything that goes wrong is a huge problem for you. Like we have to stop this right now. We cannot have a miss. And it accelerates it. So there's a differential level of pressure based on how far the game goes.
Yeah, that's really interesting because basically what you've achieved is as you level up, you're getting more powerful, but then there's other elements coming in, which is going to increase the tension within your game on the player. If they forget about their blood points, like you said, the apocalypse meter ticking up, and it's all coming together into one point where everything could blow up in your face. Maybe your character lose frenzy, it goes
Yeah.
on a rampage or whatever, and then more people find out that your character is a monster, he's a vampire, a demon, whatever they want to call it, and I'm gonna assume if people start noticing things, the apocalypse point will go up.
Yes. So the
Yeah,
way it works
so
is
it feeds into it.
it's based on how many people have observed or heard about whatever the thing is. So let's
Okay.
say that things get, you know, shit goes sideways, whatever, something happens, and 10 humans see you use a vampire power that clearly you're not a human being. Um,
Hmm.
if you do nothing, when you go to bed and you wake back up the next night, the number of people will have doubled. So all of them will have
Mm.
told somebody. And then the next night, it will have doubled again and then doubled again. When it gets to 2,000 people, it adds an apocalypse point. So
Okay.
the longer you let it go, if you don't nip it in the bud right away, it starts to get away from you because it's one thing to kill 10 people, it's another to kill 80. Have to kill 120 people. Have to and there's a kind of mechanic in there of you have to kind of pay for covering things up, and it's a lot less of an expense to cover up the problem when it's 8 people that have heard about this problem than when it gets up to 250 people have heard about that. Now you're having to bribe all these people to make this problem go away. It's similar to how it's not atonement. Um, in Shadowdark, when penance is what it is. In Shadowdark, when you're a cleric and you fail your crit fail one of your spell castings, you have to kind of pay penance and make amends with your god in order to get the spell back. So it uses a similar structure to that. Like the worse it is, the more you have to pay for
Yeah.
covering things up.
Yeah, that's one thing I have to say is you have a great way of taking other things and transforming them into something completely different. Like you get
Thank you.
inspired by something and all of a sudden it's like, how did you come to that from this from this nice holy thing to must eliminate all these humans
That's right.
or bribe them off or make them disappear.
I think one of the critical things for when you're a game designer is being able to break down whatever the thing is you're looking at into a mechanical structure that you can then put somewhere else. So there's this is one of the examples I really like. I haven't found a way to make it perfectly useful yet, but there's a video game called This Is the Police, and
Oh
you
yeah,
run a police department.
yeah, yeah,
And one
yeah.
of the things that they do is like there'll be a crime and you'll send out your detectives to the crime scene. And every time they talk to a person, they get like a Polaroid picture of some piece of evidence that they've acquired. Like one guy says it was a blue car, and the other guy says it was a green car. And then you talk to more people, and there's more people that say it was a blue car than say it was a green car. For all of the evidence is like that. Then when you have to put together like your theory of the crime, and
Mm.
you're moving these little Polaroids into like a linear sequence of like first the guy pulled up and it was a blue car and he got out and he shot people and then he ran away, right? And you put together like your theory of the crime, and then that's how you close the cases. Is if it, and if you do it wrong, you can be you're now pursuing the wrong person for the crime as the perpetrator. I think you could take that structure and use it for so many things, but I haven't found a perfect way to use it for role playing game yet. Like invest, like I don't really like how games like Call of Cthulhu and Trail of Cthulhu is another. It has a slightly different system, and there's other investigatory games. I haven't found one that I like how it does investigations. But I've always thought like I would love to be able to take this method, because it's just a method. Like
Mm.
you're acquiring objects. You have to put the objects in a line, and then that resolves the situation. And being able to take that and apply it to to apply it to something in the sci-fi universe, to apply to whatever, like take that structure of solving a problem and move it into a different context, that has nothing to do with the police, that has nothing to do with any of, it's not, you're not doing a murder investigation, you're trying to fix your hyperdrive in Star Wars or something, and you could use
Yeah.
the same kind of mechanical steps to solve that problem. And it's one of the things, like I think that games ideas have so much potential, but I haven't found a way to really like work it in a way that I like yet. But things like
To crack
that,
the code to get
you
it
have to
done.
be on the lookout for like structures like that.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. Like, yeah, it's anytime I talk to you or listen to you when you talk about this stuff, it's just like, okay, I'm gonna listen to every single word he says, because like you've been at this for a long time. Like you said before, back in the Google Plus days,
Yeah,
like you started off with some
the dark
adventures here and
times
there,
now.
and
Like, oh man,
yeah,
I had like 9,000 people that were connected to me on Google Plus, and it was very, very emotionally and mentally taxing,
mm,
dealing with trying to actually have conversations about like a debate or a discussion of a particular topic, because people they're so difficult to talk to on the internet in a way that doesn't end up blowing back on you in some way. And it's very frustrating to, you're trying to make a genuine argument and somebody's just trolling you or making a
yeah,
snide comment and dropping off whatever. So I was almost like grateful that Google Plus closed its doors, and now I pretty much only do social media in a way that's, I know it will not blow back on me like that. I see people making a post that I know will cause me a bunch of trouble if I engage, and I just mute that, just move on. I'm not going to even get into it.
yeah.
It's just
Resist
not worth it.
temptation.
Yeah, it's just not
Yeah,
worth it.
yeah, that's true. I think everyone could learn from that a little bit. including myself. But
Well,
you've been in this for a while. I think you're probably a bit more disciplined than some of us.
it's very. There's times where I get almost to the like I'm halfway through the first sentence, and I'm like, wait.
Take a
We
step back.
can't
I'm
we
gonna
can't go
breathe.
down this road if we start arguing with this person.
Yeah,
Um, because it's just pain. Like there's no if I felt like, oh, I'm going to lay out my argument about position X and I make it to this person, the idea that they're going to go, oh, that's great, I'm going to take that and go home. Like if it's about any kind of contentious issue or they've made their mind up already, you're just wasting your time, and it's
yeah,
emotionally draining to get into these arguments with people. I'm so much happier now that I don't do that.
yeah. I think you need a certain kind of mindset or a kind of person to be able to do that stuff on a daily basis.
Yep.
I know people who can do that stuff and it doesn't affect them in any single way. And then I know people, if you say no in the wrong way, they'll have a mental breakdown. I think you
I,
get a lot of that on the internet.
yeah,
So
my
that's all I'm
wife
gonna say.
watches videos, celebrities on talk shows a lot. Like that's one of her favorite things. Like like a panel of like 4 or 5 celebrities that are on some talk show, and that's just not my thing. But
Yeah,
one of the things that comes up, I hear frequently, I just overhear it, is them saying like, don't listen to what anybody's saying about you because these people have absolutely horrible comments made about them all the time, and if they listen to them or read them, it's like just devastating emotionally. I wouldn't read them either. I would just turn it all off and say, here's a PR person for you guys to talk to. I don't want to deal with
yeah,
that.
that's true. Especially people have this tendency to focus on the negative opposed to the positive. So
Yep.
if you had like 100 positive and 10 negative, they're like, "What's this asshole saying about me?"
Exactly.
Yeah. There's one thing I want to ask in particular was actually touchstones. What are these and how do they impact the
Okay.
game?
So Touchstones is an idea from Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition.
Okay.
And I don't really like how they're implemented there, but the way that the touchstone works is it's somebody that you have some kind of emotional interest in, usually because there's somebody who you knew from before you were a vampire. Um,
Okay.
so this could be like an uncle that you have who's still alive, a cousin, somebody, your niece who's now in her 20s,
Mm,
and when you were turned into a vampire, she was 4, whatever, something like that. And it can also be people that you kind of met recently, like a teenager that you uh, met sometime who was like getting attacked by gang members for not joining the gang, and so you are kind of like trying to help them finish high school or something, something like that.
yeah.
There's a table with like 10 different options of to give you like ideas of like categories of touchstone. So you could just roll it up randomly and say, I need somebody that I'm trying to develop like that kid.
Yeah.
um, and then once you have them, you if something goes bad in their life, if you intervene and really make a significant effort to help them, you get an XP for it, and the GM has to kind of manage it. But like, it's a way for you to occasionally have something good that you're interested in doing. But I mean, it's just 1 XP, which is a lot in Shadowdark compared to other
Yeah.
systems, but it's still just 1 XP. But the main thing about the touchstone is that you're vulnerable because you care about this person. So if the touchstone dies, you lose 1 point of your humanity. Humanity is a uh, different from Vampire, the way Vampire the Masquerade does it. It rolls across the 0 rather than being a 1 to 10 scale. So it goes from +3 to -7. So if you go down below -7, you become an NPC. You're so inhuman at that point. You've just
Mm.
become a
You're
monster.
just a monster now.
Yeah. Um, so you're going to start sliding down. Now the problem with this scale is in Vampire, it's kind of a one-way drop. Like things just keep descending. You become a monster, and there's not really that many advantages to what you're losing. But in Shadow City, whatever your humanity score is, it is a modifier to your reaction rolls. So if you are at +3, the best possible position, when you meet humans, you get a +3 on the 2d6 reaction roll, like classic old school reaction roll. What +3 is huge. Like you're doing really good. But as you lose these humanity points, I mean, you don't even start at +3, you start at +0, right? So you start
Mm-hmm.
losing them, you start becoming, it's more and more difficult for you to interact with people because you're becoming more monstrous and
Detached.
callous and emotionless and so on. But
Yeah,
the
yeah.
the trick is the inverse of that number is applied to your attack rolls. So if you're at -4, you'll be horrible at talking to people, but you will be excellent at fighting and killing people. So
Okay. Yeah.
so there's
I see where you're going
yeah,
with this.
some players are going to want to consistently run a negative humanity score, but then if it drops too low, then they're going to become an NPC. So they're going to have to do things to bring it up. When you level up, unless you can kind of articulate to the GM why you think you shouldn't lose a humanity point, you lose a humanity point from leveling up. So the more powerful
Mm,
you get, the more this number goes down. And there are ways to increase it, but they're time consuming, and you have to actually like take the time to find people to help. Like you have to find new touchstones and cultivate them and do things with them. So if you don't do that, if you don't take the time out of your life to connect with people, you will just descend into being this monstrous person. And you can't even have a normal reaction roll with anybody because you're at like -4, -5. And
mm-hmm.
on a 2d6, the average result is 7. So at -5, you're going to be averaging a 2. Like there's no way,
Yeah, yeah. It's not going to be
you're
going
going to be
well.
having, you're not going to be having great reactions with people.
Yeah,
Um,
they're going to perceive you as, "What are you doing, human?"
exactly. Yeah, it's like when they have on some skit show or something, and like the light comes up on
Yeah.
somebody's face, and they're like, "Hello," It's like, oh my god, you
Would you like
so
some candy?
exactly. Um, so the touchstones are really an integral part of maintaining that connection. And
Yeah.
if there's one of the bloodlines that is the one who's insane, it's kind of like the Malkavians from Vampire the Masquerade. Their big drawback is they only start with one touchstone instead of three, and they have a hard time remembering anything from when they were human still. So right out of the gate, humanity is a big struggle for that particular bloodline, which makes sense because they're insane, right? So like they're just crazy. They come across like a schizophrenic, so that is difficult to make friends. It was difficult to build
Yeah.
up relationships. Um, but every bloodline has some kind of drawback like that impacts some aspect of the system, and it makes it so that each character is struggling with the mechanics in a slightly different way.
Yeah, that's another thing. Like every time you're describing one of these systems, you can see how each of them layer on top of each other and how it becomes a compounding effect. And it's going to also lead for better role play, which is a good thing as well, because you want to be able to role play in a role playing game.
Exactly.
So yeah, it's just yeah. And then you also have like your asset management stuff you can do. I presume that's going to take place over the months, not just
Not
like
well. There's assets as a part of your character, and it's people that or a thing that you you can use to solve problems, but you have
Okay.
to make a check. And the later in the night that it is that you make the check, the harder it is. So if you know a guy at the mayor's office who could get you a fake document that you need, that's
Mm.
one of the asset types is a person like that. Um, if you try to get in touch with them at 9 o'clock, it's going to go a lot better than if you try to get in touch with them at 4 a.m.
Mm.
The check will be much easier. So it encourages you, like, you have these resources that you can use, but you have to plan ahead and think about how you're going to use them. If somebody calls you at 3 in the morning, how friendly are you going to be to solving their problem for you? Yeah, it's just reality. Um, and there's a way that you can, I use the term burn. You can burn an asset to make sure that you get it. You needed it right now, and you got it. You succeeded on the check by force, but they're no longer an asset after tonight. So you are able to
Mm.
call that guy at 4 in the morning, and you bang on his door, and you finally get a hold of him, but he's so pissed that he's like, this is it. This is the last thing I'm doing, and I'm not helping you anymore. Um,
So like in your desperate last ditch effort,
yeah,
I need this now or else I'm done for.
that's right. And like one of
Yeah.
them is kind of a social status within the vampire community. So like you can appeal on others to help you, like more powerful vampires. But if you burn that asset, that's you going in and being an ass in front of other people,
Yeah.
like insisting that they help you solve a particular problem. So all of the kind of mechanics in the game are built on hubris, like that the player has things that they want really bad, and
Hmm.
there's ways that they can get it, but it's something that they have to pay a price in order to get.
Yeah. Again, it's just I don't know how you do this. No, I always say it like you are an expert at able to just layer out the systems. So we've talked about this before. Layer out the systems, make them work together, make sense. Because you can get games every now and then where they have a bunch of stuff thrown together, and they don't doesn't make sense as to why one system would flow into the next. It's not really working. But here, okay, let's say you start going on a rampage, and then maybe your character you want to use one of your assets, but you're already on a rampage and you had to force them to do something for you. Then you burn
Yeah,
your assets, and then maybe that was your only asset left, or you have one or two more. I don't know, just going on with it. And then okay, that's done. But then the next turn comes around, or the next stage of the game, you are losing your humanity more. You've less assets, less resources. Maybe you've taken too much damage because you went on your rampage. You got shot up a lot. Now you've less
yeah,
blood points. Now you have to do extra checks, and it's just building and building and building. And then
that's
two
right.
people are noticing what's going on, and the next thing you know, you're being like attacked by everybody.
That's right. I,
you know?
I
Yeah, that's
have you
awesome.
seen the TV show Sopranos? It's the HBO show.
Oh, I seen it years ago when I was a
Okay,
teenager. So
yeah. Um, I always hated the ending of Sopranos. Like it came to the end, and it just kind of ended unconclusive. Like you don't know what happened. And I've always had the opinion that it should have been like what you just described. Like he was already kind of close to that situation in the last season, building up. But like if they had just kept having people getting killed that he needed, things going wrong,
mm,
and eventually he gets to the point where he overplays his hand for the last time and gets killed, and then like the camera is like on his face, like zooming out as he's laying there going, how did I get to this? Yeah, and he's dead, and then that would be the end. It would have been such a better ending than the actual them sitting in a diner and nobody, you're like, what the fuck is even going on? But that's the kind of thing. Like I think the people who are like this, people who are impulsive, who power hungry, megalomaniacal people, like they just keep pushing until they're screwing their own future out of the way. Like
yeah.
there's no way people can even they can't even maintain their relationships anymore. Their family is turned on them, and so on. And one of the things that I think makes a lot of sense about um, how people get to be homeless is that a big part of that whole thing is burning all of your relationships with anybody who might take you in and let you sleep on the couch. So like if you've gotten to the point where your mom is mad at you and your dad is mad at you and your uncle is mad at
Yeah.
you, like that's when you don't have anywhere else to turn. Like that's how these people, they're in a very desperate situation that's high violence and they need blood. You know, they if they don't get this blood, they die. And it's very
So you can kind of
competitive,
become
high
like a bit of
pressure.
a crack addict for blood.
Yeah, that would be a good. Yeah,
Yeah.
like I mean, imagine if every night you had to spend, or every day, like if you had to actually think of like hunting your own food. Like every day you had to go out of your house and spend several hours hunting down an animal and killing it and bringing it back and cooking it. Like that's what these people have to do. Like every night
Yeah.
they have to go out and fucking hunt. You know, they can't just buy this stuff at the grocery store and no questions asked. The best they can do is steal. You know, the lowest effort is theft. But even that, like you can only do that a few times before whatever the thing you were stealing it like is gone, or people have put up a better defense or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Um, so it's almost like you're exhausting all of your options over time, and you can get things back in Shadow City through the carousing mechanic is called grinding, and it's called grinding because you're like focused on a goal. Like I need to get
Hmm.
this particular thing, and so for like about a 3 or 4 month period, your character is focused on that goal. The goal could be just making a lot more money, building up something that would turn into an asset called resources. That's money that you've saved up and put into a bank account. Yeah. It could be that you're trying to get rid of one of the things that's a penalty for you. That you can get derangements, which are like mental conditions, and if you don't do anything in grinding, they're just permanent, right? So that you have to
Oh,
eventually go, okay,
nice.
like I'm struggling with paranoid delusions. I need to spend a few months like dealing with my problems and then getting back, so I'm not freaking out like this anymore. um, and everything like that, you can build new touchstones that way. You can build new relationships that way. You can learn skills. Like you can say, I'm gonna spend all this time learning how to pick a lock, and I gain advantage doing that from now on.
Hmm.
But I've just lost 3 months of my life. And other characters are doing other things that might be more productive than what you did. There's certain skills that are probably more important than others, but it's always a choice. So you didn't develop a new touchstone because you were learning how to pick locks. Then one of your existing touchstones dies. Now you're at -2 humanity. You're having trouble relating to people. Things are going. So making these decisions is not some kind of, oh, this time I think I'll take a +2 to whatever. It's
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you're making hard choices between difficult, things that you need. You need all of these things.
Yeah, that's just what we were talking about earlier. All the systems layer up on top of each other, and they all affect each other in some way or another, which is again makes the game flow and feel better. I think it will. Like the way you describe it, and it also makes it easier to role play because you have a lot of stuff going on. But then, okay, you lose one of your assets. Your character maybe they become depressed or sad, become more monstrous. You can role play that. Maybe they gain like you said, a derangement of some sort. You can role play that. So with
Yep.
all this stuff, everything is feeding into not only the gameplay aspect, but actually messing around with your friends at the table.
Well, I was about to
Yeah,
say, you've done a lot of solo play stuff. And I
yeah.
think that this game is ready set for doing solo play as well. Um, you can roll up your own random city using this method. You can use the node mapping method that we went through to build out anything that you need to go, like I need to go into this building, and you could just draw it out.
Yep.
Everything is made so that you can do it with a piece of paper if you want. You don't have to have a VTT to run all kinds of
Yep.
stuff. So you could get it out, like, I've seen so many videos where your hands are right visible right there, and you could just be drawing away, like this is how the building looks. And then explore it, because the stuff is random encounters, randomly
Hmm.
stocked rooms, all this kind of stuff, and then you could just interpret it however you wanted from a solo play perspective, and
Just
roll
requires
with
a
it.
little imagination.
Yeah.
That's the
And
one thing I say about
you
solo play. It just
yeah
requires a little bit of imagination, a little bit of time, and you can get that from like playing other games with other people as well. But use spark tables, and you can sort of remember stuff over time, and read books, and all that's going to help feed into it. And like you said, roll a couple dice. A minute or two later, you now have an apartment complex of some sort.
yeah well, like, let's say there's a neighborhood that has 3 points of interest in it, right? For each of
Hmm.
those points of interest, you're making a roll to determine the size. It could be small, medium, or large, and that determines how many nodes go in the node map, right? And then you run that node map thing, and you create 3 dungeons, basically 3 buildings like this. Now, controlling these 3 buildings will make you in control of the whole neighborhood. Like they're the critical points for controlling it as a vampire.
Yeah.
If you need some other random building that's not like an essential element of the territory, you could do that. I need to go into a drugstore, I need to go into a hospital, whatever. Um, but once you had those 3 maps, you could go in and randomly stock each of those rooms, like you're stocking a room in Shadowdark, right? Now, you're going to get a flexible number that ranges from 0 to probably 10 or 12 if you were just terribly unlucky, of other vampires that are in those rooms, because you're rolling like, what's in this room, what's in this room, what's in this room. Eventually you're going to get, there's a vampire in that room. That vampire is now in control of that. That's their point of interest that they control. So if you wanted to take it over, you would have to take them out and seize control of that location, right? So it's possible you might have one location with no vampires in it, and then one of them just has one guy in it, and the other one has 2 or 3 vampires. So you say, from a solo play perspective, they're working together. Like, these 3 are their own coterie, party in vampire speak. They're like a party of 3 players that controls this building. This other building is controlled by just this one guy, and then the other building is vacant. But you, as the players, would not know any of that. You would have to scout it out. You would have to go in, and if you ran into a vampire, you'd have to handle it as a diplomacy interaction. It'd
Hmm.
be like, hey, we're just walking around. We don't want any trouble, or whatever. If you're rocking that -3 reaction roll penalty, you're gonna be having problems with that. But you could do it like that, and you could play. I mean, how this works. Like, you could play that for 10, 15 sessions, just those 3 locations with your character. That's just one of the 10 neighborhoods in the city,
Yeah.
right? So
And
as
you
you,
can also have the days are connected or allied with other groups somewhere
that's
else. And if you
that's
do something
right.
against them, they might come after you then. Then you have to try and build up your own stuff as well. Maybe get assets, try and build up your money, whatever case may be, try and get allies. You can keep just building and building and building.
Yeah. And then
And
from
it
a
builds up
solo
attention the whole game.
perspective,
Yeah.
you could not make the adjacent stuff until you go into it. So there's no way you use that metagame knowledge yourself. So you won't know that he's allied to that other vampire until you roll out the neighborhood where that other vampire is. And then
Yeah,
you
yeah.
find out you've killed the guy that was his friend. And now you have a problem with that.
Yeah, that's what I would do. I would roll out, like, to say the street we're on, whatever, right? Then I want to go into this building or this area. I go in here, I find out what's in this room or this building. And then if you want to go in another place, you find out what's in there. And the next place, find out what's there. And if there's any other vampires or people, whatever, you find out the relation they have by just a quick, 2d6 or whatever kind of roll you want to use. Everyone's going to have their own system to do so. but you can find it out real quick, and then you're already building a story again with 1 or 2 dice rolls, and then
That's
a little
right.
bit of imagination, and there you go. And you get all this stuff from a little bit of like I said, you can read a few books, or there's other like solo stuff or spark tables which will help with your imagination. That stuff sticks in your head. So
Well,
yeah, that's
you
pretty.
you were asking earlier about where do I come up with this stuff. I just came up with the product idea right now while you were talking. So the way that you were saying stuff, and recently I have been looking at Dwero Deep, which is a big, huge
Oh yeah,
mega dungeon from Greg
yeah.
Gillespie. It's a dwarven mega dungeon, and I was thinking when you the way I don't know something about the way you were just talking of saying like you're going to roll out the street and you're going to roll this out. You could use that like logic, the way of we're doing things, to build out an Underdark as you need it, and you could just keep going. As far you could have a roll of see how many kind of deep connections to new areas are coming off of the thing that you're in right now, and then you could roll
Mm-hmm.
out everything that's in the place where you are right now, and you could have connections to like this guy, he works for somebody that's in the adjacent section, and so you might have it. There's an orc here who's running a small team, but he works for a necromancer that's further down in the structure, or he's a
A
solo guy.
familiarity chart.
You're just randomly determining this,
Yeah.
and you could make it as like an Underdark and just build it out low. So like maybe in the future, maybe in the next year, I'll have a product where it's building your own. I can't call it Underdark because Wizards of the
Yeah.
Coast is terrible about. I don't understand how you could really say that you trademarked the Underdark. There's no special name convention there. Those are just two common words. But whatever. I guess Shadowdark is. But I still you could do something where it's just you could generate massive underground cavern systems using the same system, and populate it like politically in some way, having tables where you determine who's loyal to who and who's at
Mm-hmm.
war with who else, and so on. So just being open-minded and listening to people and putting together different things, man. That's how my brain works. That's how I come up with stuff.
You are a very special man, and I mean that in a nice way. Yeah, but yeah, this is awesome. I've been super excited for this. I backed it straight away. The second went up. I thought I was number 1, but it's actually number 4. But I was the first commenter,
Yeah,
and I was
you were the
officially the
first
first
commenter.
person to sign
Yeah,
up according to Kickstarter. So I'm just saying, number
I
1 fan.
appreciate your energy and trying to get in there first. It's weird. I've
Oh,
never had people be that excited about things that I'm working on. It's always fresh. Like when I was at North Texas and have somebody come up and say, "Are you Chubby Funster?" and like start talking to me, like I'm not used to that. Like I've only been kind of internet famous for like a 6 months to a year. I don't know how to handle it.
well, it's well deserved, and you deserve more, in my opinion. You've
Thank you.
done a lot for like the RPG community for a long time, and like you said, there's some people who will just jump in and they think they're gonna get like noticed or famous straight away, and it's gonna take
Yeah,
a long time.
it takes a long
you know,
time.
yeah, a lot of
A lot
hard
of
work.
times somebody appears to just come out of nowhere, and that's really just a function of a lot of people not
Hmm.
paying attention. Like they were doing something in that one area, and you just didn't notice. And
Yep.
I think it's a TED talk or a similar type of talk where this guy goes through there's a guy who made a ice hotel in Sweden, and the ice hotel was famous for spectacularly, like every room is made out of ice. It looks really cool,
All the
whatever.
chairs, the bars,
Yeah,
everything. Yeah.
everything is ice, and people bring it up kind of like the way they bring up like pet rock or something of like, well, you just have this idea and it works out, right? And the
Hmm.
reality is that guy came up, the first thing he had an idea for was like an ice park where you could go around and it was outdoor. You could, it might have some structures for you to climb on and so on, but it was like everything was made out of ice. And then that wasn't very commercially successful. So then he started making other things out of ice, and he did other things out of it. And eventually he got to the hotel concept, and then people were like, this guy came out of nowhere. And it's like, no, he spent like 5 to 10 years trying to make this work. And it just takes time and effort. You have to work at things for figuring out, how am I going to do this? And you have your own skill level to bring up, that
Yeah.
I didn't come out of the gate like knowing how to do all these things the way that I do now. Like I see so many things. I had an idea of going back to Shadow Sun and doing Zines, like Curse Scroll type Zines. And I started doing some of the graphics and some of the layout work and putting it together. And then the more that I looked at Shadow Sun, the more I was angry at all the things I didn't like that I had done wrong in my own opinion. Like looking back, I'm like, I shouldn't have done it like that. I should have done it like that. And it got to the point where now, like, I'm like, I don't know if I will develop these Zines or if I will just rewrite the book the way that I want, because it's so frustrating for me to think about supporting something with a Zine that I want to edit as a base anyway. And I may end up just editing Shadow Sun. I don't know. It's crazy. In just 2 years, you can look back on your own work and be like, oh man, I need to redo half of this book, like that's, but
Well, like you can see from your work that
yeah.
you're obviously influenced by what you previously done, and each thing is like, oh, I can see where you came from the last thing to the new thing to the new thing and going forward,
Oh yeah,
especially
like
since in the last 2 years or so you've been really into Shadowdark stuff. You can see the progression of how you're thinking about how the systems all interact and work together, and then
like
this is obviously a combination of all that.
yes, but Shadow Rim has a world map that's a hex map, and I keyed the hexes with little tags the way that Kelsey does on the maps for Cursed Scrolls. So it's like the number for that hex is on a black ribbon instead of just black letters on the map itself. And so you can easily see like those 15 hexes are the ones that are keyed, and the other hexes are just open. And so when I did Shadow Sun, I didn't even have Cursed Scrolls at that time. I wrote Shadow Sun when we were still doing the Kickstarter was still ongoing while I was writing most of the book. And so I was operating off of the quick start rules, and then eventually the PDF version, the first PDF version that we got. And I didn't get the Zines until I received the physical product who came with the Zine, right? So going back, like I would want to redo the Shadow Sun map and tag a bunch of hexes and build out descriptions of what's in those hexes like I did in Shadow Rim. But I can't, like, it's one of the, like you said, like every time I come up with new ways of making it better, and then I look back and I'm like, well, now I need to fix that thing to be better.
Because if you keep going like that, in 2 years' time, you're going to look at this and be like, I need to redo everything.
Yeah, exactly. One day we'll be doing the Shadow Sun rebuild because we figured out all these cool new solutions that weren't in Shadow City.
Yeah, if you can add it in that chart of like who's connected to what and how it works as well, add that in.
Yeah,
The
there's so many.
familiarity chart.
Yeah, like I'm already thinking now that we had this conversation about like I need to have tables where you roll up what political relationships exist between each vampire. So like, what is this vampire know that vampire? Oh yeah, they're best friends or whatever. That's not in the book. Maybe we'll make some of that stuff as a supplement, a Shadow City
you can make a
Zine.
little
I don't
zine.
know. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I think this happened last time we talked as well.
It's crazy. Yeah, that's how things move forward. And
Yeah,
a lot of people have this idea that like they're going to buckle down and not pay attention to anyone and write for like a year and then magic. But the magic comes from doing things that you haven't done before. we both are huge fans of Gods of the Forbidden North,
Oh my god,
and
yes.
I've learned a lot of things from running that book that if I was going to write something where I'm describing physical locations like campaign setting again, which I am, there's certain strategies that he uses in presenting information and organizing things that I would be influenced by. You say, oh, like he put all of the XP at the end of each chapter. So like there's a whole dungeon, and then there's a list of everything in the dungeon that could give you XP, all of the treasures, all the money, whatever it is. So if you go, how much should they be getting for this magic item or whatever? You can just go over there and look it up and go back. Like brilliant. You know, his intro where it kind of plays like when you're walking off the boat in Morrowind.
I said that to him. It's like Morrowind.
It's
You hit
brilliant.
the
Like,
register and you put your name in, your race. That's your character creation. It's literally the exact same thing.
And
it's a good way to get a group of people
activity.
into it.
Yeah, brilliant. You know, things like that. There's a guy who wrote Atomic Shadows. I forget his name. It's not Thor, but it's some kind of like Scandinavian German name like Thor, I think. But he was doing a live stream with Adrian from Dungeons and Dyslexia, and he said that he makes all of the page numbers hyperlinks to the table of contents. So no matter what page you're on in the PDF, you can just click on the page number and you go to the table of contents. And I'm like, brilliant. That is going to be in every product now. Like, that is perfect.
Instead of scrolling back up, you just click a page and then you go back. Yeah, that's actually quite smart.
Yeah, because all the table, I've been hyperlinking my table of contents for a long time. So you could move through the book and just hit the page number, go back to the beginning, then click on whatever subject from the table of contents, and then jump to that location. So you can just jump around with these hyperlinks forever and get all the information you need. And I'm sure there's probably somebody out there who's like, you know, who cares about that? When you're running an online game on a VTT and they say, hey, we're going to go open this door, we're going to go do this thing, we're going to go talk to this guy, and you don't have that right at your fingertips,
thing ready,
being able to just go click, and then you're there, like that is huge. You know, you could save, 30 seconds to a minute.
Especially the bigger the book, the more of a benefit that's going to be, because you're going to be flipping and flipping and flipping otherwise.
Exactly. And that's one of the reasons why, like, I got Gods of the Forbidden North is the only like physical book I've bought in a long time, because I don't run games in person, and looking up information is so much faster than on a PDF than it is with a physical product. And I can type in search term for a particular name, and I can find every instance of that name or whatever. But the books are just so beautiful. I was like, I have to have this. I have to have this book. But that's the kind of thing. Like, unless I'm buying it for the beauty of the thing, I've kind of switched over from personally to all PDF, because that's how I play. That's how I run things.
Yeah. You're going to do things based on what your needs are. There's no point in having, if you don't read the books or use them in person that much, what's the point in having like 20 books when you might only read one or two of them or use one or two of them in person? Just have the digital file. There you go.
And it's all fun and games until you have to move. And when you have to move, I'm sure you are very aware, since you just recently, is it coming up, or have you already done it?
Oh no, it'll be another couple of weeks, but so
but I mean, like, just the act of packing them is its own special hell, and then moving them.
I'm looking at my corner where I have stuff. I'm like, fuck. I already have some stuff packed away like that I don't use that often, just for ease of storage, because it's just handier. I'm like, okay, that's gonna be easy. Then I go into the other room. I'm like, oh no.
Yeah,
no.
Where's all this?
I already have stuff in the attic as it is.
So I get it. That might be a good time to talk about how the print on demand works for this. So
it's quite a big book as well. It's like
$20
buy-in
from me. There it is. That's my graphic.
Yep.
I don't really like drive-throughs explanation graphic very much, but so I made that one. So you pay $20 to get the PDF. You get it as soon
Yep.
as soon as I have a list from Kickstarter of here's all the people that their pledges went processed, and then you're good. That will go out. Then all those people will also get it's like a code for drive-through to print a softcover book and to print a hardcover book, and that's up to you. Like if you just want the PDF, pay the $20 and you're done. If you want to pay for the printing and the shipping, those are costs I can't control anyway. Then
Yeah.
it's your deal. You can do that. So it's set up to be as flexible as people want it to be, and there's probably a lot of people that will, get the PDF and just not print it because they don't want to pay the the shipping costs and the $9 to get a soft cover or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But hey, that's them. I don't want somebody to get more than they want to pay for. If you, whatever it
Yeah.
is, if you just want the PDF, that's cool with me. And
It also
most
keeps it a bit
people,
handier on your side as well.
yeah, most people are happy to get it instantaneously. And the thing with the way that drive-through already works for all these products that are print on demand is that there's a component of the price that I can't change, which is that printing cost. And then there's an upcharge basically for however much I want to add on top of that print charge. So if I'm charging somebody, like right now, I've got a bunch of products where it might be like a $10 PDF and the price to print it is whatever the price drive-through has plus $10. So it's the same because you get the PDF when you buy the POD. I don't. It's the same price. So I get paid $10 whether you buy the book or whether you buy the PDF alone or whatever it is. It's the same money to me. So I think that transparency is the same. It should be the same.
Yeah, that's one thing you're very good at as well. You're not like trying to pull the wool over people's eyes. You're just like, here's what it is. There you go. Get you what you want. And also, the other thing about drive-through codes is, say if you're not able to get it right now for whatever reason, they last up to 6 months. I think it is 5-6 months.
Yep.
So if you want to get it down the line, you can get it 2-3 months later. So, that's another thing. So if you're like me, you're moving, maybe you don't want to get a thing on there straight away.
Or
you can get it when you move in.
If you had, a code for a hardcover and a code for a soft cover, which you will have, so I'm saying like this.
Yeah.
This is like a decision theory. I could, pay the $20 and get those codes, and I could pay for the soft cover and ship it to my friend, and I could pay for the hardcover and ship it to me, and all those things would go in. Now, if you did that on drive-through where it wasn't through the Kickstarter like this, you would be paying that Greg portion twice. Because you'd be paying whatever the price is to send it to your friend, and then you'd be paying it again when you send it to yourself. So this is like a cheaper way of duplicating the print on demand order. Doesn't result in me getting paid twice, which has got to be a win for the customer. I mean, it sucks for Greg. Oh, boo-hoo! But you get the benefit.
Yeah, it's also, again, you're being very customer friendly, and obviously when people hear things are customer friendly, they're like, oh, he makes great stuff, he's customer friendly, what's not to like, And also you have to remember there's a lot of add-ons you can get as well. So like your GM companion for Shadowdark, player companion, Shadow Sun.
Now I hope that it goes up to the 10,000 because it's at 88.44 right now, and I had a big email.
See, mine shows it in euro, so
yeah, it shows in euro. That's why I gave you the number in dollars.
Yeah,
but yeah,
you
can hover it. Okay, that's cool. If it gets to 10,000, everybody gets one of those codes for a player companion.
Oh, nice. That's
Yeah.
okay. That's a
So
big incentive for people.
yeah,
And that
so
player companion is
it'll be
also very
interesting
good.
to see how if all that gets to that point. This is my first time doing a Kickstarter, so I'm doing it with like minimal moving parts. It's just let's make it. There's people I see like they'll do a Kickstarter. This is their first Kickstarter, and they're adding on all of these buy ups and all of these things. Like, are you sure you're going to be able to do all that stuff? So
Yeah.
I put it on there to be my first experience. I'll see how everything works. I mean, you were there when we were live and turned it on, and I didn't know that the page that I had spent all my time building wasn't going to show up as the preview page. It was going to show up with nothing, and I didn't have 30 minutes to copy over all the widgets and everything from this big
Yeah.
huge page here into a preview page. I won't be making that mistake the second time around, so stuff like
Again, you're
that.
learning from your experience
Yeah,
and building
you
upon it.
learn. Well, it didn't occur to me until yesterday that I could, using my own YouTube account, which I have a few videos, but I don't really use it. I'm not like you. I'm not making a bunch of videos to try to get a higher, more viewers. I'm making things like, here's how I did the thing or whatever.
Yeah.
But
Here's how to play Terra
yeah,
Invictus.
here's how to play Terra
Example
Invictus.
play. Yeah.
But I could use that YouTube account to make a playlist of all of the videos where I talk about ShadowCity, and then share that, share that out there. Things like that. Like, you don't think about that the first time you're doing a particular thing. No matter what it is, the first time you build something with hammer and nails, you're going to make mistakes. It's just the way it is. So
You get a few sore thumbs.
yeah, it's been a good experience. Exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, this is I'm very excited for this. I've been excited for this since you first mentioned it or heard you talk about it. So this is definitely very interesting. It's very different. But again, you're building upon everything you've learned and have developed. Like, you have the node system for creating pretty much every location you could want on a giant city scale or on a street scale, even a building scale as well. Never mind street. The character sheet is simple, straightforward. You're building upon the simplicity of the Shadowdark player sheet. You have all this new stuff coming in. You have different classes, disciplines. You talk about the asset stuff and what they could be. There's a lot in here, and like, this is what 338 pages. So this is not like some small little like zine. It's not a 50-page zine, which would be a big zine. It's a big boy.
Yeah,
it's full own standalone game,
and everything's ready. I have the proofs. We're good. As soon as it closes, everything will go out. It's not no delay.
Also, I have to say this. It's set in like 1980s, early 1990s sort of time period. You're not going to have no internet, none of that sort of stuff, no real cell phones. So it's all going to be. The hard thing about doing it like in today would be there's internet and everyone has a phone under a camera in their pocket.
That's right.
But this is just going to create it more in the, like you said, 1980s sort of feel and theme. Things are a bit like punk rock and
Yep.
All that awesome stuff.
And that's why there's an apocalypse timer, because like the more the humans' technology improves, the worse things get for you. If everybody has a camera in their pocket and you do something and it gets shared on the internet, that's a lot of people that you now have to pay to cover up and silence. You have
go to Google.
So I mean, if once it gets to like today's time frame, I mean, like the risk level of just going outside for the vampire is insane. Even
if you were doing it like today, you'd have to do it like in a corporate setting where you're the billionaire CEOs of every company. Well, you're able to get away with it.
The counter goes up 5 years no matter what. So if you started and you were perfect, you didn't make any mistakes, you'd still be taken out by the humans in 2031, which is which is coming up, folks. 6 years. We're good to
Uh-oh.
go. So, there's no way to escape that. So, but the idea would be that, like, by then your characters would be very, very powerful, and you
Yeah.
could try to survive for as long as you could or whatever. And some people have suggested, like, if you get to that point, you switch over to Blacklight from Victor Gorchev and you start hunting down all the former player
That'd
characters
be
with
interesting.
your spec ops
Yeah.
team. So
I back that as
that
well. I can't wait for that.
be a solution. But yeah, I think it helps. There's a lot of board games that have an apocalypse timer. I think it really affects people's play when they don't have a feeling like this is going to go on forever. I can
Yeah.
just
Urgency.
take my time. Like, no, like, you need to really be focused on making the right decision right now, or else it'll
Yeah, and
get out
like
of hand.
I talked about earlier, it's not measured in days, it's measured in months. So that timer is going to go a lot quicker than you think.
Yep.
So there you go. Is there anything else you'd like to mention or throw in there?
No, I've said so much about Shadow City. I'm worried about duplicating things I said tonight. Um,
Oh, that's all good.
yeah,
But yeah,
it's this is the first time I've ever done promotion on this scale as well. You see
yeah,
all these,
you've been on a
all these
tear.
appearances, and
Look, yeah,
that's a learning
it's
curve for
bacon.
me as well. You never know.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's bacon right there. Yeah,
yeah,
all this stuff. So I try to learn from every time I do one of these talks. Every time I release a product, I try to learn from things. I think perfecting and learning your craft over time is a big challenge. And some people, we know guys like Monty Cook, or uh, I'm sure there's a bunch of names that I'm forgetting, but big guys in the hobby like that, and they've done a lot of stuff. And there's a lot for every one of those guys. There's hundreds of people who just kind of released one thing and never really learned how to perfect it, and then they just kind of went away because they did the one thing. I don't want to. I want to see the world. I want to
yeah.
experience all the things, see all the how the games play, and see what I can add to it. And I'm always looking for feedback from people and how to improve stuff. And conversations like this are like to just saying it out loud and putting things together in your brain makes you think of new solutions. Like I
Hmm.
just a few minutes ago, so we could make this into an Underdark generator. Um, that I think that's the way forward. We have tools now in the internet to do things we couldn't have dreamed of in 1981 when this game
Yeah.
starts. Um, so I'm always interested. People hit me up with ideas for ways to improve, ways to change things. There's a lot of people who've asked me to release like a product in the future of how to play as a werewolf, how to play as a mage to fit with some of the other World of Darkness setting categories. Um,
That'd be
I'm
cool.
not closed off to that. I go where the passion is for me, and right now it's
What
on
drives you?
my next project for Shadowdark, which is a Islamic setting like Al Qadim
Okay.
in a lot of ways. So I'm working on things like that, and in that game, I'm trying to find ways to innovate, ways to move forward. The map for that game is at the same scale as the map from Warlords of Gavardia for Acts 2.
Oh wow, that's quite
Huge,
big for anyone who doesn't know.
yeah, massive map. So it
Because the hexes
covers
in that are huge
everything.
as well.
It covers a world from like an Indonesian part of the world all the way through like a northern India part of the world to Arabian Persian type part of the world. It has a steppe where you can go up and ride around on horseback. All this kind of stuff. And every time we try to move the ball forward down the field.
Yeah.
That's always my goal.
And I think that's something you absolutely nail every single time. Like again, you just build on what you've previously done or what you've learned. And again, there's another thing that people don't, I think, take for granted sometimes is when you play games with other people, your players, or if you're a player, you're going to come up with something, or they'll come up with something which the DM, GM, judge, whatever you want to call it, would never have an idea of doing, or maybe they ask, "How can I do this thing?" And that can spark of, "Oh well, I don't know. Let me come up with something." Just you can learn
That's
anything and everything from almost anyone. Like we were just talking there about like interactions and how this group might interact with another group, and he just randomly had this idea for creating an Underdark system with like a
yeah.
familiarity chart, allies, enemies, etc. So
Well,
yeah,
I
that's
was telling you about my Gods of the Forbidden North game that
yeah.
I'm running, and there's a character in the book that is not deeply described. He's given kind of basic characteristics and idea. He's a halfling named Taffin Larry, and he has like a thing that he wants to do, and he tries to recruit players into doing the thing. But that's all that's in the book, and I've built out a whole bunch of stuff with him. But one of the things that is interesting is when you run it, things come up that you invented, but you don't even see until later. So this guy, he had a counterfeit version of the book that the players were struggling with handling as an evil artifact. And
Mhm.
so right after the evil artifact gets stolen, he shows up with his copy of the book, and they see it and they're like, it doesn't look like it's the same book. And before they can get a hold of it, I had him sell it to the local ruler, who's a 9th level magic user. And it makes sense that this person would want a book of spells. And so I wrote it up, and I'm what I'm saying right now is what I was thinking at the time that I did it, right? So I said, okay, I'm going to fill this book. I looked up a bunch of spells that would be kind of could be used for evil, but not really super evil. They're not like, it had animate dead in it, but didn't have like, summon the end worm or anything. Yeah. But,
Imagine that.
yeah,
That's it. Game over. Goodbye.
yeah. So I made this book. I gave it to the town leader. The players go and meet with her and bargain to look at the book, and they look at it, and that makes them feel comfortable that it wasn't that he didn't steal the book from them. It got stolen, but he wasn't the one who stole it. The book that he had is counterfeit, and he sold it
Mhm.
to this woman. And that was all, no trickery here. That's exactly what I was thinking at the time. But it occurred to me the next day that since they didn't see the book before he sold it to the level 9 magic user, she could have showed them anything and said, this is what the book was. And she could still actually have the evil artifact or whatever. Like logically, she could have still done
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
So if I was going to go back and run it again, I might have her actually buy the stolen thing and then pretend that she bought this other book, which is not really that scary. And then the players walk away thinking she's a good guy and she betrayed them the whole time. But I didn't think of that until the day after I did it myself. So like
Yeah,
so
yeah.
much you can learn against your own imagination. Like I didn't think of it in the moment.
Yeah.
But just being open to examining the situation and go, well, wait a minute. They didn't see it before he sold. Okay. She could be evil, like, and I don't think my players would have come up with that. So I'm not giving away even if they watch this, but I thought that was interesting. I would never change something behind the scenes like that because
Yeah.
kind of way that I feel
You
a game
dick.
should be game master. But the next time I run it, oh man, that's probably
There's
going
a
to be like the
50-50 chance
town.
that might happen, and it might not happen as well.
It could, yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
That's a
Or
good
that could
idea.
show up in some other game where somebody in a similar situation pretends like, oh, I just bought this spell book. It doesn't contain anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, just write. If people a lot of times they'll have an idea like that and they won't write it down, and then they'll forget about it in 3 months, and then
Mhm.
it'll never appear again. And the last appearance that I'm going to be doing before the Kickstarter closes is with Joe the Lawyer and
Okay, yeah,
Joe's Analog Man Cave
he's good.
on tomorrow night. And I told Joe for years, like, he needed to write down all these setting stuff that he had been developing, because, like, if he gets hit by a bus or something, like, it's gone. Like, nobody will know how to run this setting ever again. And he throws all of his energy into other things, and I'm like, dude, you need to write your stuff down and publish it, because I often think about the untold millions of ideas that role-playing game players and GMs invent, and then it just gets washed away by time and death and forgetfulness and whatever. Like, so it disappears into the ether. So
Yeah.
write your ideas down, folks. Like, keep a record of them. It's a good practice.
Plus, you might come across something that's super cool, and then other people might want to use it. You can
That's
give it
right.
for free if you want, if you're not interested in going down the whole publishing stuff. Or, you're like, I got an idea for a cool campaign. Let me put all my stuff I have for this world I've been playing in for 20 years.
Well,
you know?
that's a lot of that is what the blogging community used to be right
Mm,
before Google Plus took off. Right before Google Plus, there was a huge amount of role-playing game bloggers, and they had all kinds of stuff that they were just publishing for free. Yeah, they'd make a blog post and they'd be like, "Here's a D10 table of items you find in a alchemist shop or whatever," and then they would fill it out and put up just mountains of free content. And Google Plus came in, and everybody started thinking, "Oh, I can publish these things in order to gain a lot of viewers and get a lot of popularity and so on." And they stopped publishing it for free, and they started wanting to publish it as a $5 or $10 PDF, and that cut down a significant amount on the amount of shared creativity that was going on. And
mm,
being on social media has fractured the hobby even more than it ever has been. People being upset with each other over issues that have nothing to do with role-playing games. Like, if you imagine the universe of people that are interested in, let's pick a small game, relatively, like Pendragon or Alien, or I'm trying to think of one that would fall away from the big ones. Um, Castles and Crusades is not that big of a. Again, it's a good game. All these are good games. I'm just talking about the popularity.
yeah, the size
Um,
of player base.
yeah, and think about the total universe of people who could potentially be interested in one of these games, but they can't talk to each other because one half cares about X in politics and the other half cares about Y in politics.
Yeah.
And so they're not talking to each other on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or wherever it is, and they're missing out on all of those interactions, because I think the real poison of the past 5+ years has been people deciding that politics is the most important thing in their whole fucking life, and everything needs to conform to their political opinions. That the,
Yeah.
the people that they hire to fix their toilet need to have the same political opinion as them. The people who deliver food to the people who do this need to do it. And it's ridiculous. It's insane. There's no way you could ever vet every person who you interact with for their political views, or who would want to, really. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And people are just throwing away tons of what could be great social interactions, great creativity, great
Ideas.
ways of finding new solutions to stuff, because, oh, I can't even talk to that guy because he voted for the person I don't like.
Yeah. You
So
get the
it's
same thing in
always,
Hollywood with all the movies and TV shows. It
Yep.
all has to be either this way or go away. And then they
And,
wonder why they're not making money and why every Marvel movie now is now costing $500 million and they're making 400 million on it. It's like,
yeah,
yeah, you've
and
just
you and I
pissed
live
off
in
too many
different
people.
countries. So
Yeah.
why would I even care who you vote for? Like, I know a few Irish political things. Like, I know what Sinn Féin is and some stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
but like that's it. Like, the, the degree to which, even as somebody I went to grad school for political science, the degree to which I understand Irish politics is head and shoulders above almost everybody else in the United States. But I still am a midget compared to you in your knowledge of Irish politics just from living there, right? So
Yeah.
why would I insist that you vote the way that I want? Like,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
And the thing is, as well, you might know something more about something that happened 50 years ago than I might, but I know what's
That's,
happening right now today,
that's
what
right.
happened in the
Yeah.
news 20 minutes ago.
Yeah.
You know? But I had something similar like that happen on a Discord, all because I posted an
I remember
unboxing
this.
of Axe. Like these absolute dysgenic freaks. That's what they are. I don't care anymore. Like these people are insane. They put they want everything have to be politics in their country. Bloody, not even in the US, by the way. But anyway, but like it has to
Yeah.
be this way or that way. All because I put a video up of me unboxing an axe. I'm like, oh, this is cool. Oh, simulation, this is awesome. You can plug this
Yeah.
into any game system, really. And they're like having a melting breakdown. I have screenshots of stuff. I need to make a video one day on this, but I have screenshots of stuff, and it's gonna be great.
Yeah. That's what I mean. Like,
like I got
think
banned for
about
everybody doesn't
how
know.
little and I'm not diminishing you at all, but like
Oh yeah.
how little of an impact your video made on their life in any appreciable way, right? Like,
Oh yeah.
in what way could you possibly have harmed them? Right? All of it is a self-inflicted harm of them not being able to tolerate that you like somebody that they don't like, and not even that you like them necessarily personally, although I think you probably do, but like that you like the thing that they made,
Yeah.
right? Like, it's
They
crazy.
got upset about a book.
Yeah, like,
Not. Well, it wasn't like it's a fantasy novel about doing horrible things to people. It's a book about I'm gonna roll this dice. Oh, that thing happens. Cool.
yeah,
Like
and
absolute bonkers. Like you need to.
it's
These
crazy.
people
And
do
that
not know how to
person
detach
probably
from reality.
that person probably had a negative day because of all the emotions that they inflicted on themselves. And
I
it's
hope they did.
crazy. It's like, why would you do, like, there's certain, I'm going to pick a political leader that everybody hates, like Mao Zedong, right? Like, I
Yeah.
won't pick Hitler because everybody picks it. Like, it's like, if
Yeah.
I read a
Bit of
book
change for
where,
once.
yeah, if I read a book written by a guy who liked Mao Zedong, I don't care. Like,
Hmm.
how does it doesn't affect my day at all. And to have somebody like lose their shit and like wreck their mental health for the whole day because they
Yeah.
found out that a guy in a different country was reading a book and liking it, like,
Yeah.
I don't
Just wait until
understand.
these people find out that there's things called history books that
That's
cover
right.
topics about the past, all the bad and good things,
If
or
only
things
they
which are
knew
neither
about the
good
books
nor
that we were
bad.
all reading but not sharing with them. Oh
Ooh.
my gosh.
Hides my like werewolf fantasy books away.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
My
like,
romantic werewolf fantasy books. But don't worry,
yeah,
I don't have any. I'm just
I just want to talk about
not that
games
bad.
and play games. Like, I
Yeah,
don't want to talk
that's
about
one
this.
thing I've said a couple times. I post about it as well. Is I just want to look at cool games by cool people and share it with others. That's it. That's the
Yeah,
whole reason I started my YouTube channel. I was like, okay, the reason I started is my friend, he had a 3D printing channel. I was like, oh, I want to do that, but I just didn't have the space. So then a few years went by. I was like, getting more and more into RPGs the last couple of years again. I was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna do some RPG stuff. It doesn't take up too much room. I just need like a couple like feet around me, camera out, and it's like the first video, God Forbidden North. Now the video itself was terrible. mainly because I didn't have a microphone. I was using my phone. I didn't know how to edit. I didn't know how to increase the volume. I didn't know how to do anything. I need to redo that video because the book itself is great. I need to do volume 2 as well. But that's how I started, and then I started doing more and more, and then I learned a little bit more. Learned a little bit more. Now I can do. I have a cheap microphone, but does the job. I still use my phone for the camera, but I've figured out how to change the settings to make the quality look better. Obviously,
Oh,
the
nice.
camera I'm using now is just my laptop camera, but yeah, it's like you learn a little bit, and then you learn how to edit things, add stuff in, music overlays. If it need to do this. So I mean, you know, add in chapters to your videos. Like you said, you learn as you go on, and from what you've done in the past. Same thing.
Yep,
You know.
exactly. And the whole thing with Terra Invictus, it
Oh,
became a solo play thing,
yep.
but it wasn't in Ambition and Avarice. It was just a setting, and it does the Ambition and Avarice book has 2 huge dungeons that are not in the Shadowdark version because they were just so big. They would have been their own entire Shadowdark book. I mean, get the amount of content that was going into each room and everything. It would have been a huge book. Not huge. I mean, Shadowdark large book is 250 pages, but the layout of Shadowdark is so large font, very easy to
Yep.
read. So that stretches your content out. Like Gods of the Forbidden North in that format would be a 2,000-page book. So
That's just the first volume.
that's just volume 1. Yeah,
Yeah,
2,000
yeah.
pages.
Never mind volume 2 and 3.
Now, I've actually talked with Rob about that, and he for obvious reasons, he's like, no, I don't do that. But I think it would be much easier to read on your phone. So
Mm,
if you had a version of Gods of the Forbidden North where each chunk of information was laid out on like a Shadowdark proportioned page, you could sit around in your off time and just read it on your phone in a way that right now reading it on your phone would be very difficult because of the scale and the size. Um,
yeah, to zoom in.
yeah, but what I was saying is like, so the Ambition and Avarice version was just a straight up normal campaign, but I used those icons to just organize information. And converting it into Shadowdark was when I realized, I could use this to create a process flow, and you could run it like a series of actions in a particular
Yep.
order as a solo play person. And yeah, like you just gotta look for ways to improve, and you'll find them. There's tons of stuff out there you can do.
Yeah, and also with Terra Invictus as well, it can easily be used for group play. If maybe you're starting DM or something like that, I think it's a great book to
Yeah,
use.
I
You just print off like the symbols, have that beside you, open up the book, to start in this location. And when you're in different location stuff, especially like the cities and towns, you have the spark tables, and that's going to
yep,
spark your imagination. And then you can create missions and dungeons from that and so forth. Use
that's
the
right.
stuff from the core Shadow
All
deck
those
to create your
all those
dungeon. And
rumor
then if you want to add
tables,
the GM companion, add it in.
yeah, the rumor tables could easily be adapted by a GM into
Hmm.
missions, quests,
Oh
or
yeah.
whatever you want to call it. Yeah, um,
That's what I do on some of them.
yeah. Like, hey, you heard that there's Aarakocra over in this mountain. Go make contact with them and do this. That would be a quest you could get from a powerful person in town easily.
And then on your way to get there, what happens on the way is another story. You might
Exactly.
come across locations, the world. Maybe that's a dungeon location as well. You might come across another town. You know. So
That's how I felt about doing the pilgrimages.
they were a
That
great idea.
you could pick a pilgrimage location, and then on the way there, you're going to run into more than enough hooks to last you for the whole campaign. All
Yeah.
the things that you'd find just getting to the pilgrimage site, and then once you get there, it's kind of like I've wanted to run for a long time, like a Wild West setup where you're on like a gold rush trip,
Yeah.
kind
I was
of
gonna
like
say like Gold Rush,
yeah,
California.
like an Oregon Trail type level of you're following a path and you get out to the place, and then after you get to the place, maybe there is gold, maybe there isn't. but then your characters kind of enter the campaign that way. Now you're out in this town, and what are you going to do out here? And so that kind of, I thought, especially as like a gauntlet, where you got a bunch of 0 level characters, and a lot of them don't make it. But yeah, that's just another idea that's sitting in my unused ideas folder. But that there's
We can
tons
call it
of
Shadow Trail.
Yeah, the Shadow Trail. That's awesome. Well, I've actually talked to Kelsey about, because I used in Terra Invictus, I used the Shadowdark as a term for Underdark. Say like you're going down into the Shadowdark. And I checked with her first, and she said technically that's not a copyright problem, because obviously I'm not saying my game is called Shadowdark, because it's like a location in the game. There's no limitation on me saying this place is called Shadowdark. It's that I can't say this book is called Shadowdark. So I think going forward, I'm going to use that unless I come up with a better solution, because the idea of like you go down into the Shadowdark is just a cool idea.
Cool.
Like
it just sounds cool.
Yeah.
It's like where I am right now.
Exactly. I made that joke before you turned on the recording.
I was waiting all day. I was waiting all the time trying to figure out where I can plug it in. It's like this. Da-na-na-na, da-na-na-na. My microphone's a great camouflage. Da-da-da-da.
That's right. Oh, I've noticed when I turn on like the fake background behind my head or whatever, it sometimes you see like the ghosts of stuff that's on the other side. And I've wondered about like, what if you like put like mannequins and stuff, like all kinds of weird stuff in the area behind, and then just turned it on black. So occasionally they'd see like the face of the mannequin, and then it would go away. Like it was like right behind you.
It's like, what's that in the room with you? Nothing. There's nothing here. Why?
Yeah. Like, what are you guys talking about, dude? There's nobody in the room with me. Yeah.
You get your son to come up behind it and move the mannequin as well.
Well, my wife has like a dress dummy where you put it's like a dummy, you put the dress over it, and you do
it's like a silhouette sort of outlay of like a
repairs and tailoring and stuff.
Yeah.
So I could put something like that together, but
test it out
I
and
don't
see
know.
what it looks like.
It might creep people out too much.
If you ever do like a horror supplement or something like that, there you go. All about ghosts, demons.
My daughter, we had already had a divorce and moved to split custody at the time. But my daughter came back over from her mom's house one time and told me that she had gotten in trouble because she took her like life-size Barbie doll. Life-size, it's maybe 4 feet tall at most, whatever. And she had put it on the landing at the top of the stairs at the house, and her mom had come out of the bedroom at like midnight or whatever. It's totally dark. There was this like kid right there. It was like, holy crap!
The Chucky doll incident.
Exactly. And I've always thought like, oh man, you could do
kids do stuff like that, and you wouldn't have thinking of doing that yourself. You're like, oh, that's good doll.
My son had a big Darth Vader like that, and
really?
he kept putting it in the closet because he didn't like it. He didn't like going to sleep with it in the room, looking at him.
I can imagine.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Little sound.
But yeah, I think that's more or less it. But again, people, check out ShadowCity if you haven't. This will be going up in about 10, 11 hours from more time we record it. So there'll still be plenty of time to jump on. And I know you're going to be doing 1 or 2 more of these interviews as well. In the meantime, you said you're doing with Joe the lawyer, is it? Or
yeah, tomorrow I'm doing 2. In the afternoon, I'm doing one with the basic expert. And Victor Gorchev is going to be on there. Him. Yeah. And then in the evening, it's going to be with Joe the lawyer. And then it'll be like there's like a relief of getting to the end of your marketing campaign. Like it's like, okay, good. But I have really enjoyed. I enjoy talking to people, especially like when it's when we're doing a stream like this, it feels like a one-on-one conversation, even though we're
Yeah,
recording it. Like, it doesn't feel like I'm talking to a huge lecture hall or anything. But
yeah, I know what you mean.
I
It's like talking to your buddy. Because
yeah, I've
like
talked.
we got to know each other a little bit, over the last couple of months and stuff. So it doesn't feel like I'm talking to a stranger. Talk a little bit
Exactly,
every
yeah.
now and then. So it's awesome.
But I've taught as a graduate student. I've taught lecture halls of 120, 150 people. It doesn't bother me, but it's the like being in a huge crowd of people is kind of its own kind of sensory drain and emotional drain, and it's just
Yeah,
too much excitement. I'm more of an introvert than I play on television, let's say,
yeah,
like, so I get that way, but it has been very fun. I especially to talk to people that are like, oh my gosh, this solves all those problems that I had with Vampire and stuff, and I'm like, yes, exactly. And it does not play like Vampire. It plays like D&D today, like in the modern, I mean,
hmm
1981, modern day. It's a totally different. It does not play like what you might think it's its own special animal. So I'm really excited to get it out there and get people playing with it.
yeah. I can't wait to play it myself. Like we talked about the layers, it does sound very unique and very different from other things. It's obviously inspired by things, but everything's inspired by everything else. So that's
Yeah,
impossible to. But like it's clearly its own thing. You're building upon like some aspects of Vampire, Shadowdark into your own Shadow City, Blood and Neon setting, and clearly you're doing things which other people haven't even come up with concepts for yet.
now we
But
have
yeah,
them.
yeah, exactly. So this has been great, Greg. Thanks a million. Again,
Thanks for
guys,
having
jump
me.
on this. You can jump on this for the next 43 hours as a recording. So if you can be up in about 11 hours, 10 hours from now. And you can get add-ons for this as well. You can check out some other Greg's work, Shadow Rim, Shadow Sun, the companion and the player companion. So
Yeah, all those
yeah,
add-ons are at like a deal of the day, 50% off price. So
yeah, half yeah.
pick them up and be good.
You will not regret it. That's all I can say. Again, the GM Companion is one of my favorite books for Shadowdark, hands down. I know I always say it, but there you go. If you were going to get one add-on, get that. If you were going to get more, get them all.
Thank
That's it.
you.
Thanks a million, guys. Thank you, Greg, for coming on.
Thank you. Thanks
Talk
for
to you again
everybody
soon.
watching.